I think as much as I like the tunes, I think
Oh,
I'll kill
yeah.
just so I can tell us.
I'll do what I'm doing one day, Henry.
All right, so welcome to the Mindful Nutrition class today. So kind of starting with the beginning, or the end in mind rather, the goal with this class, and this is true of any class I suppose, is that I'd love for you to go home with something very practical that you can go home and immediately change that. And the change that I encourage all patients to make is like something that you know you can't fail at. And so especially like with this class, everything we'll discuss, and kind of with this class too, I feel like a lot of nutrition, in general, I feel like a lot of you already know a lot of the basics, but we're still going to cover a lot of those, but we're also going to talk about like best practices, the people that really do well with nutrition. Here are the things that they do well. But what I want you to keep in mind is at the end of the class, I'm going to ask you to commit to at least one thing that you know you cannot fail at. And so kind of having that filter in mind as we go through, like what's the one thing that you feel like calls to you most that you want to change. And so before we get to that, I do want to start with our hierarchy of needs, which our body needs certain things to survive. And so the first of which, of course, is that we'll discuss is food. And so with food, if you were to eliminate food, let's say you had no access to food whatsoever, how long could you live without food?
10 days.
Yeah, roughly that's right, exactly. So it's, I mean, we're talking over a week. I mean, we're talking in the week department that you wouldn't be comfortable, but if you had to, you could probably do about 10 days to maybe 2 weeks at the most.
Yeah, I might stretch it out to 2 weeks. I don't eat very much, so I'm like,
Yes.
I feel like I could go a little longer.
Feel comfortable, but
I fast every day.
I die in 2 days.
I would never stop.
Wouldn't come to that. Huh? So now let's talk about water. So our bodies need water, of course. Let's say we were to eliminate water, we had no access to water. How long could we live without water?
2 days.
So yeah, roughly 3 days. Allison's right, she's done this before. I feel
Not this class, but
I guess
So-
too. I drink a lot of water.
Yeah, and so we've gone from weeks to days. So if we, taking my objectivity out of it, just listening to our bodies, what our bodies are telling us is that as important as nutrition is, and I'm not diminishing anything we're going to talk about today, our bodies are telling us we need water more than we need food. That's just how we're built, and that's the way we're designed. So now let's talk about another essential need, which would be airflow. The ability to breathe. If we couldn't breathe, if we just couldn't breathe, how long could we live without air?
Not very long.
4 minutes.
So it's correct. I mean, regardless, I've looked. I mean, the time is debatable, but we're definitely down to minutes. So we've gone from weeks to days to minutes. So if we just listen to what our bodies are communicating to us, air is more important than food, water, or food. And then lastly, the last essential need that our body needs always is nerve flow. So our body's ability to communicate from our brain to our body and our body back to our brain. If we were to eliminate nerve flow and we were unable to communicate through our nerves, how long could we live? I mean,
You
yeah,
would just
it's
die.
well, I mean, really instantaneous. Like if we're not able to communicate, like if our nerves are severed, we're not able to live. Like it's instantaneous. So again, just listening to our bodies. Nerve flow is by far the most important aspect to our health. And the reason I want to go through all these is really, especially as it relates to chiropractic, like the thing we influence most with adjustments is nerve flow. And so when we adjust, what we're doing is we're allowing nerves to function better than when you walked in, allowing the nervous system to communicate better. And so listening to our bodies, that is the most essential need of our bodies. And the reason I want to focus on all this too is one thing actually that we tend to forget, and especially, I mean, the essential needs matter, but it's also very much a top-down system where nerve flow directly impacts how we hydrate, how air goes through our body, how nutrition is processed through our body. It doesn't work the other way, where if we eat a salad, our nerves aren't going to function better, which is unfortunate, but it's just the truth. And so as we focus on nutrition, I think a lot of us, and especially like New Year's resolution time, everyone's going on a diet. We're focusing on nutrition, which is wonderful and it's a good thing. But I want us also to remember that there's other aspects of our health that are even more vital than nutrition, and not to negate those or not think about those as we focus on nutrition. Make sense?
Yeah.
Cool. And so now, and really kind of relating this to
Oh
our
gosh,
topic.
I'm so sorry.
Oh, you're fine. On that paper that you have in front of you, first I want you to think about it, but then we're going to write for a moment. And I think it's part of the reason that we do focus on nutrition as much as we do. I want you to think about your favorite memory involving food. This would be harder to do with air or nerve flow. But I want you to think about, like, if you had to pick like a favorite memory that immediately comes to mind involving food and eating, what comes to mind? And I want you to write on that just for a moment. If you're still writing, please continue writing, but and you certainly don't, this is all for you, you don't have to share, but is anyone comfortable sharing what they thought of or what they wrote? Yeah.
I discovered hibachi.
Ooh,
Oh,
okay.
yeah, so fun.
Like at a sushi restaurant, so I
Yeah.
just nonstop, I played it out.
Hibachi's fun,
Yeah.
it's good.
She went right out and bought all the stuff.
Doing it at home, going to every location, didn't care.
Fall in love with hibachi, that's a good one. Any others? Yeah.
I just had to think about it, but because I'm like, what is my favorite food? Like, I like food.
Yeah.
But I do remember when I was younger, and I still garden. I always have gardens, but my dad, had all of us 6 children have our own little garden plots from the
Oh, that's
time
cool.
we could.
That's awesome.
Yep. And I remember that being my favorite thing, like picking the food that I grew all
Yeah.
by myself and
Yeah.
eating it. So,
That's sweet.
That's
and I
awesome.
still like that. So
That's a good one.
I'll share mine.
Yeah.
On Wednesdays, I'd go with my grandma and her sister to this buffet at the Knights of Columbus, and they'd have fried chicken and stuff, which I love fried chicken. And my favorite memory about that is that they would always wrap it in napkins and put it in their purse to take home.
they're like, we're taking those to go boxes. We're taking it.
Yeah, well, they'd have to sneak it. It's a buffet.
Oh, I see. I see. Okay. Good chicken.
Yeah, seriously. You unwrap it, it's got the little
Damn.
napkin pieces on it.
Oh yeah.
That's good. And having done this a few times, the one I always think of, I think it was my 7th birthday. My favorite food has always been and might always be mac and cheese. And so my mom said, what do you want for your birthday? I'm like, mac and cheese. And so we had friends and family over to this park and we had a picnic. And as my mom was preparing the meal, and we lived kind of out in the boonies a little bit, I didn't realize she was short on ingredients. Of course, how would I know that? So she improvised, and she made it from scratch. And so it was macaroni with butter. With cheese. She didn't have butter, so she substituted peanut butter for butter. And it was the only thing that was there to eat. So it was peanut butter mac and cheese.
How did it go?
And we had a lot of family and friends there, and there was nothing else to eat. Some things, like you try something different, and you're like, that ended up being amazing. This was the opposite of that. It was awful.
Oh my
It was
God.
really terrible. And everybody tried it. They're like, what is this? What did you do? But I was 7 years old. Like, our family still like remembers, like, anytime we make
Yeah.
mac and cheese.
Your
we're like,
mom's
yeah,
never
peanut
gonna live that
butter.
one down.
Yeah. But that is those kind of memories, like, and there's so many that I can think of, but like, and that's one of the things. And the reason I want to go through this, like, there's a reason we focus on food so much. Like, it's more than just a vital need. There's an emotional component to it that is a wonderful thing. That as we go through eating more nutritiously and being mindful of it, there is a way. And what I want you to focus on too is what I want for all of us is that we're able to eat well but also not lose the wonderful memories and the things that we associate with food. And I assure you it's possible. My daughter right now, because she's 14, and I'm the dad that always like makes her eat her vegetables, and she moans and groans and like, you know, is all upset about it. And just this year, she's taking it upon herself, like she's starting to bake, but she's only baking like nutritious things. She's looking up recipes, those kind of things, and she's loving it. And I'm loving it too, like just the fact that she's doing it.
Yeah.
So it's possible to love what you eat, but also eat nutritious food, and that's my goal in today's class, is to accomplish that. Yeah.
Did you tell her not to substitute peanut butter?
She's smart enough to know better. Yes. No, she knows better. And so what I want us to do now on our sheet, if you were to rate yourself in our office, of course, 0 is always best, 10 is bad, just because we're weird, that's how we do it. So on that second number, I want you to rate, if you were to rate, and we're not going to share this one's just for you, but if you were to rate yourself on how you think you're doing in terms of eating healthy food, if 0's perfect and 10's the worst, I want you to write down where you think you're at right now. And again, we won't share this. This is more just you kind of taking stock. Here's how I'm doing. All right, and then on the next line, this is where hopefully it gets more encouraging, is a year from now, where do you think you'd like to be, and where do you think is realistic for you to be? Again, if 0 is best and 10's worst, what do you think is a realistic number where you'd like to be a year from now? And write that down. All right, and so to get to that number, I'm hoping we all went in the right direction. I would assume we are. When do we need to start to make changes to end up at that number, or to get to that number a year from now? When do we need to start? I mean, the sooner the better, right? And that's really the goal of this class. Like, I think what's realistic to expect of this class is that hopefully your motivation goes up a smidge, but also the more important part is that you have systems that you can work with that will be more sustainable, that'll help you get to where you want to be a year from now. So what do you think is the leading cause of death in America today?
Obesity?
Obesity, it's up there. I mean,
I'm
it's
gonna say
definitely a
diabetes.
contributing factor.
I have a child that's dying from diabetes. He's
I'm
26.
sorry.
I'm so sorry, Dad.
But he's got all organ failures, and I think like diabetes is the worst. I don't know why little kids are getting diabetes.
Yeah, no, you're right. And we didn't used to see that.
Yeah, and
Yep.
he's not overweight. I mean, it's type 1. It's different, you
Yes.
know, but
Yeah.
anyway.
Yeah.
I think it's actually probably number 2, and cancer's number 1, but I
Yep.
feel like number 2 is like getting right up there.
Right. And they're all, and you know, heart disease is the one we hear a lot of. In researching this for this class, the number 1 cause of death is, and it contributes to everything we're talking about, but it's lifestyle. So it's day-to-day choices is the number 1 cause of death in America, and it has not always been that way.
Yeah.
But it is absolutely the way it is now. While that's discouraging, it's also encouraging in that, like, those are things that we can change and we have direct control of. The 60% of Americans, and again, it didn't always used to be this way, the number keeps rising, but 60% of Americans have some form of chronic disease, which would include heart disease, cancer, diabetes, all the things we're talking about. It's the leading cause of death and healthcare costs in America. It's also the number 1 cause of bankruptcy. Again, these are all discouraging things, but again, the encouraging thing is these are all things that are controllable and are within our grasp. These are not things we have to accept. And one of the things that influences them most is what we eat. And so that's why this topic is so important. And again, we went through the vital needs, but they're all important. And this is one that we need to focus on. So knowing this and knowing how big a deal of it is, I mean, it's the leading cause of death in America. And we're never safe to assume we're any different. If you were motivated, and that's part of what we're going to talk about today, because part of your success on whether you're going to get to your number a year from now is going to be some combination of motivation and preparation. In dealing specifically with motivation, if you were motivated to reach your number a year from now, and a year from now I call you up and I'm like, Ro, you did it. You did an amazing job. what motivated you to get to that number? And that's real, but for each of us, what would motivate us most to reach that number and really help us to be motivated to eat healthier sustainably over the next year? What motivates you most to do that? And I want you to write on that on number, are we at number 4 now, I think, right? So I want you to write what would motivate you most and what motivates you most to eat healthy and to make changes to improve the way you eat.
What motivates me most and what? Can you say it again?
Sure. Assuming,
So, it's
and not
a
assuming,
three-part answer.
when you are successful a year from now, what motivated you most to make changes to improve your health and the way you eat? He sees the reflection in the mirror down there.
I think he was waiting for you to start up again.
Oh, maybe. And if you're still writing, please continue. But with motivation, what I find is that there are exceptions to this. There are some patients that honestly, and people I know where their motivation, if this is like the highest and this is the lowest, theirs rides pretty consistently right here. Like their motivation is kind of what they rely on and what works best for them to be consistently effective in how they maintain their health. I find most people, however, they tend to be the exception. Motivation tends to do this for most of us. I think, some days it's high, some days it's low. And so it's hard to rely on motivation. If you're able to do it, hats off to you, and I think that's wonderful. Because ultimately, again, motivation or preparation will determine whether you're successful. Speaking to the rest of the crowd, and I think most people, preparation is really what's going to help you determine whether you're successful a year from now in meeting your goals. And as far as what that looks like, for every ounce of motivation, or every ounce of effort requires an ounce of motivation. And so if motivation does this for you and it goes up and down, really what we need to focus on is preparation and making sure that you have systems in place to be effective. And as far as what that looks like, it starts with grocery shopping, and we're going to go through a few things, but in my household, what that looks like is I've definitely had bags of spinach that wilt and eventually I have to throw out because no one's eaten them. Mm-hmm. That never happens with Oreos.
Yeah, and then we find out that Oreo filling is mostly plastic.
Oh yeah, exactly. Like no, it's terrible.
I can't
exactly.
take that kind of food anymore.
No, exactly. No, and you're right, and that was the right thing.
Imitation crab.
Yeah.
But
imitation cheese.
If we can find ways to, when we're shopping for food, it's the thing we all know. But if we don't have crap in the house, we're not going to eat crap.
Right.
And that's an easy thing to know and say. It's just harder to do. But it really does start with grocery shopping. With my family, but this applies to all of us. So again, I forget what they've called me in the past, but like a health Nazi of some sort. But what I've done is I downloaded an app called Yucca, which there's other ones that do this. I find this one is simple and it's free. And the kids, it's easy for them to use. But what it allows you to do is it's an app that you scan barcodes on things when you're shopping, and it will very quickly give you a number of how healthy it is in a color. Like green's good, yellow's kind of in the middle, red's bad. And especially when I'm shopping with my kids, like I can blame the app. Like it's Yucca, it's not me. It's telling you Oreos are garbage. Like I'm sorry. But especially for adults too, as we're shopping, it's just a quick and easy way to scan things and determine whether they're healthy or not. And I would say it's probably 85 to 90% effective. Like It does weigh a little more, like if there's additives or those types of things. It doesn't look at the quantity of the additives, so they're still bad, and they're right in saying that they're bad, but it doesn't look at the quantity of the amount that it's putting in. But I'm being kind of nitpicky. So in other words, it's not gospel, but it gives you a pretty quick and easy, pretty accurate idea. As opposed to if you have the time to look at every label and really analyze everything you're shopping, that's wonderful. That's the best way to do it. Unfortunately, I'm just not that disciplined to be able to do that. And I think most people, that's probably true. Where the Yucca app I do find helpful. If there's one thing that I've seen with like, if you want to leave here and know you're going to be successful in eating more nutritious foods, every person that I've encountered that does meal prep is successful. And we know this, it's hard, if you're not doing any of it now, these are all hard things to implement. I'm not suggesting it's easy, but if you do meal prep, I can almost guarantee you will be successful. So seriously, what that looks like is, like in my case, what I do is Sundays is when I have time. So Sundays I will prep meals for the week and get everything in containers so that and this is the other part is, like we talked about, the less effort that you have to put in to what you're choosing to eat, the less you have to rely on motivation. Seriously, so if you can make it easy and just pull it out of the fridge and heat it up or what have you, that is the easiest way to do it. If you can find a way to meal prep sustainably on one day a week and have everything ready.
It's all about me. Steal the show.
I promise you, if you can find a way to do that, you'll be successful. And if that's your one takeaway from this and you feel like you can do it, again, that is such a huge one. I promise you will be successful if you're able to do that. The other thing that I see consistently with patients, if they log what they eat, if you're looking for accountability and just really, and it's not that you're accountable to anyone, it's just the fact that you have to write it down. I did see my daughter was using an app that the more I looked at it, I liked it too. It's MyFitnessPal.
Oh,
if you're
I
looking
love
for
that
ideas.
app.
Do you have that? Okay.
I used to use it a lot. I don't
Yeah.
anymore.
I've
But
seen it before, yeah.
Yep. And it's a free app, but it's a good way to log what you're eating. If there's two none of these are foolproof, but if there's two things that you could do that will not guarantee your success, but really set you up to win, meal prep and logging what you eat. If you can find ways to do that and you're not currently doing it, I promise you that will help. The other things in researching this class, I didn't kind of make sense. I just hadn't researched it or knew it, but the ideal time to eat is when you're just beginning to get hungry, as opposed to the other alternatives are you're not hungry at all, you're just doing it out of routine, or you're bored. We tend to not make good choices. If we're starving, our bodies are craving instant energy, and we tend to not make good choices. So the ideal time to eat, we can't always create these circumstances, but when you're just beginning to get hungry, that tends to be the time where we make the best choices in what we eat. So I did want to go through, if we're looking at just the nuts and bolts of what is healthy and what are we shooting for, I researched this a lot. To me, this made the most sense. It's a good breakdown. We're going to go over, there's a lot to read here, which we won't have time to go through everything, but I've actually highlighted some sections that we'll go through just to kind of go through the cliff notes of what's in here. Oh, do you already have one?
oh yeah, thank you.
Cool.
Thank you, Don.
So in general, and again, I'm just going through cliff notes. I encourage you to read through everything. And again, a lot of this probably is repeat information or not something we don't know, but if we're to summarize, whole foods are good. Processed is bad. And again, this is all a time thing. Like Whole Foods, it's probably going to cost a little more and take more time. But there's also no shortcuts that anything processed is not as good. If there's one, again, if we're looking at our one takeaway, this is a big one, but if you drink pop or sugary drinks, even if they're diet, if you can find a way to switch to water or at least switch some to water, that is such a huge deal. People that go from pop to water, that is like one of the biggest things you can do for your health. So if you're a pop drinker, and again, not easy, not suggesting it is, but I promise you it is such a huge deal. If there's one thing that you could change if you're a pop drinker, that would be a huge one. And reminder with fats, again, we might already know this, but Saturated fats are the bad ones. Those are the ones we want to avoid. Unsaturated, our bodies actually need some of those fats, which is not bad. Saturated, bad. Unsaturated, not as bad. Sodium, a lot of us think of like a salt shaker when we think of sodium, but the majority of the sodium that we consume comes from packaged meals and restaurant meals. So it's, I mean, also avoid the salt shaker, but it's usually packaged meals and prepared meals that generate the most sodium. Whole grains, another good one. Again, I do, for our one takeaway, like if I could have one thing for a patient to focus on, if they can fill half their plate in vegetables, that is just a simple, not easy, but a simple way to look at it and really achieve better health. And if you're not doing it now, again, it's a big change, but that's a simple way to look at it, that if you do that, I promise you will have some success. Going further in, so we'll look briefly at, I'm on page 3 now, looking at the nutrition facts, like a food label. Again, the Yucca app makes this a lot simpler, but what I like is that they just kind of break down and make it simple, where if it's 5% or less of something, it's low, and that specific area is one way to look at it. 20% or higher is high. So looking at this specific nutrition facts off to the left that we see there, what do we think, just glancing at that, would we say this is a healthy food or an unhealthy food?
Unhealthy.
Yeah, and I tend to agree with you. I mean, and I think too, what I find with a lot of these things, did you not have one?
Oh, yeah, sorry, I must have erased that.
Is it's also not cut and dry, is it? Like in some areas it's not healthy. So in other words, we can see looking at it that sugar is definitely high. Like whatever this is, it's high in sugar. That is not great. But we also see it's high in calcium, iron, a decent amount of protein depending on what we're looking at.
Oh, it's really high in iron.
Yeah.
Are these green beans?
I have no idea. Isn't that interesting? But this is where it does get tricky, and that's why honestly that's kind of the reason I like the Yucca app, is that, I mean, you can look at each food and really break it down, and in this one I tend to agree with you that I would say it's probably not healthy, but you could also look at it and say, I mean, there's some areas where it's good and others where it's bad. But I think if we're looking at just nutrition facts, a simple way to break it down is if it's 5% or less, then it's low in that area. If it's 20% or higher, that's too high. Or depending on if it's nutritious, of course, that's a good thing. Then moving further on, we're on to page 4. So they're backing me up on this, that try planning and preparing meals ahead of time. And actually what I do most often, because our weeks, like our kids are at basketball right now, where we're not home a lot of nights. I will make a big meal on Sundays that we can reheat through the week that is fairly nutritious, that hopefully people aren't going to complain about. And so for me, that's what works best. Like if you want to do individual meals throughout the week, I think that's great too. But the point is really to make it prepared and make it easy and accessible, where you don't have to think about it throughout the week. And then I don't want to give away the recipes there, so let's pretend we don't go on to the next page. Okay, we're going to do that here in a minute. And so some other things I didn't want to talk about. I do get the question often: is it worth the cost of buying organic or not organic? Yeah. What are your thoughts?
It's a question because
it is a big
you
question.
hear so many things like
Yep.
organic isn't really organic,
Yes.
and then we know that there's a lot of pollution that comes down from the sky onto our food.
Yep.
So really, like, nothing's organic.
Right? Yeah, no, exactly. No, it is. It's not cut and dry. I'm with you.
Some's better than others.
I don't know.
So in researching this class, what I found is, and this logic to me makes the most sense, is that if the skin of the fruit or the vegetable is thick, it's probably not worth the investment in organic. So in other words, like
Oranges.
yeah, exactly. Bananas, avocados, oranges, things with like a thick skin. And the concept or the idea is that the skin is so thick that it's probably going to absorb most of the pesticides or additives, like things that might have been added to the food. Where if we're talking thinner skin, we're talking like berries, but just use lettuce, those kind of things where it's going directly onto the food that you're eating. There's no membrane or barrier in between. Then it's probably worth buying organic. And for that reason, that if they're using pesticides and things that ideally you're not consuming those, like that we know that that's harmful. And so if it's a thick skin, it's likely to absorb that and keep it off the food. But if it's a thin skin, it's likely worth the investment for organic. And to me, I did see, I probably read 8 different articles on this one subject, and that school of thought made the most sense to me, that if you're gonna do it, here's a good way to look at it, and it's probably worth it in those instances. But if it's a thicker skin, because I like bargains too, like if I can buy, if I can buy bananas and not have to pay another $1 for my bananas and it's not worth it, then I don't want to. And so I think, to me, that's a logical way of looking at it. A question we get a lot too is, does it matter if it's fresh, frozen, or canned? Does it make a big difference? From a nutrition standpoint, you're right, Ro. So fresh is always best. It just is. Second best would be frozen, and third would be canned. And the reason is that with each of those, you're losing nutrition because of the processing of how they process the foods. That can, and ultimately too, a can of green beans is still better than French fries. It's all relative, right? But if you're gonna eat those foods, that again, fresh is always best, frozen would be a second, and canned would be third, but still better than French fries. All right, and so then lastly, I always have Kathy in the back of my head. I can't go over, and she's right. So lastly, now we can skip to what I like to do too. Like we started out with this class, like to me, the ideal is where, and we're going to go over one of these recipes where actually this truly did happen, where we're eating healthy recipes that we actually enjoy and still can make good memories about. I want you to, if you skip to in the packet you have, I have 3 different recipes, and we're going to share everybody's recipes that brought them. But the reason I want to do this with you too is just for me, I need new ideas and like things that I feel like I'm excited to make. And I think all of us have our own kind of things that we feel that way about. The ones I'll share with you have been good staples for me and my family over the years that I think are reasonably healthy, and also I don't think you're gonna hate them. I think you'll enjoy them. So Uncle Chicken, the reason I call that is I went through a phase where I made this like all summer. I would grill chicken and make this, and my kids finally said, "Uncle, like Dad, this is just too much. I've made this too many times. I'm getting tired of this." But I actually had it at you remember the Row Inn? Do you guys remember that restaurant? Mm-hmm. So for Valentine's Day, I took Kathy there, and she ordered this, and I've attempted to recreate it, and it's not as good as it was there, but it's pretty darn close. So the ingredients are boneless, skinless chicken breasts, grape or cherry tomatoes, Kalamata olives, balsamic vinegar, and feta cheese. So the way you make it, ideally I grill the chicken, but it doesn't really matter how you cook the chicken, however you like doing it. But then in a saucepan, I'll heat up cherry tomatoes, usually with Kalamata olives cut up, with balsamic vinegar, and I heat that up. Once the chicken's cooked, I dump it over top of the chicken, and then put a little bit of feta cheese on top. It's seriously good. It's actually really, really quite good.
And so easy.
It really is. It's easy. It's easy. And especially like the Row Inn, like I just, that place, every meal I had there, and I only went there like twice, but it was just so good. And it's pretty close to the way they made it there too. It's fantastic. That is one of my favorites. Taco zucchini boats. It's pretty simple. It's just hollowing out zucchini halves, filling them with ground turkey taco meat, and then usually I'll sprinkle some like low-fat cheese on top and bake them for, I forget how long. I do 400 degrees for about 15 minutes to kind of heat everything up together. But then we eat them as a taco, but it's in a zucchini shell. And it's good, actually. The kids do like them. It's simple and easy, and especially for our family, like it's something we can then store them through the week and heat them up, and they're quite good. And then this last one, actually, my daughter and I made. It was kind of an all-day event, but it was really fun, and we do kind of, when we have a Sunday and nothing going on, we'll make this. It's a shepherd's pie, but it's with ground turkey and quite a few vegetables mixed in. It was really good. I mean, it's a time commitment, but it's also a great reheating. Like if you're looking for a Sunday meal that you can reheat through the week and have prepped, it's a great one for that. It's kind of hearty, but if you look at the ingredients overall, I mean, the potatoes, of course, are starchy, but other than that, I mean, it's really a pretty low-fat, healthy meal that it was kind of fun to make with my daughter. I think you might enjoy it. We really enjoyed it. So those are some of my favorites. I have others, but again, I got to keep this to 30 minutes, you guys, or Kathy's going to get really angry.
Because you
so
gotta go make dinner.
So then here are, and thank you guys for bringing your own recipes. And if you couldn't, I understand. I didn't think of
I didn't know.
messaging. It was my fault. I messaged everybody too late.
Thank you, and thank you for sharing your recipes.
Thank you.
Of course.
My pleasure.
For you.
Thank you very much. All right. So who did the Japanese chicken salad? Okay. All
Pepper soup is one of my
right.
favorites.
Do you want to describe kind of what? I mean, it's here, isn't it? I'm sure. Yes.
What we got?
It's actually out of my grandmother's cookbook,
Oh, nice.
or her recipes, but it's, just like, I like to use like rotisserie chicken.
Yeah.
And chow mein noodles and packaged almonds, kinda like an Asian, theme here.
Yeah.
With the dressing.
Mhm.
Instead of sugar, I substitute a lot of sugar in all of my food
Mhm.
with maple syrup.
Great.
Mainly because we make maple syrup.
That's good.
So it's great.
Yeah.
But I like the taste of everything better. So
Yeah.
anytime anything requires sugar,
Mhm.
I like to use maple syrup. And I don't know, I mean, sugar is sugar, but to
Mhm.
me, I know where it came from.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's great.
I'm gonna write
That sounds
down.
great.
I don't know the flavor
Well,
of
thank
maple,
you.
but honey is good.
I would like to try that. Very good.
Nice.
And then the marinated vegetable salad, who did that one? Okay, great.
That was another one of my mothers. I'm her mother.
Uh-huh. Okay.
So it came from the same person.
Uh-huh.
But what I really like about it is like all vegetables.
Yeah.
And it stays in the refrigerator for 3 weeks.
Okay, nice. That's great.
And everybody seems to like it.
Those are all winners. That's great.
I know.
No, that's good. Thank you. No, that's awesome. And I love the ones that you can prep and, can kind of eat throughout
Right.
the weeks. I think that's awesome. That's great. My mouth is watering. I haven't had dinner yet. That sounds great.
Yep. Everything sounds good to you.
Yes.
I had a good recipe for some homemade wheat pasta, like healthier version of pasta, but
Uh-huh.
I didn't realize that I should have brought
I know.
my
I dropped
grandma's
the ball.
cookbook. I could have brought so many things.
We'll do this again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, for
Yeah.
sure.
I went to Grandma's cookbook and there was nothing healthy in there. Just everything was delicious.
Yeah.
So no, getting
5
that.
sticks of butter.
Yeah. But like this summer I got
Probably.
into making like loaves of bread. I
Oh,
was
very
making
cool.
like protein butter bread, banana bread.
Yeah.
Yum.
something
That's
like
great.
that. And chocolate chips to them and stuff. So
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
that was really nice.
Yeah.
Yummy.
No, that sounds good. Awesome. And then the stuffed pepper soup.
That
Whose
was
was that?
also
That
mine.
was
Okay, great.
me, but I love that soup. I make that too.
Stuffed pepper soup.
Sometimes with cabbage instead of peppers, but I just love
Mhm.
Oh, look at the ingredients. That
And
does
you
sound
could,
great.
you could use turkey, ground turkey rather
Yeah.
than the beef.
Absolutely.
What really makes it is if, with the rice, if
Uh-huh.
you cook it with either the burger or the turkey,
Mhm.
it gives it like a nutty flavor.
Yum.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
so good.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Well, thank you guys. Those are awesome. Those all sound good. All right, and then lastly, you guys, again, thank you all for participating. I like that. Serve 6 or 3 hungry bikers. That's
You double this recipe and be good all week.
Yeah.
Always better on the 4th day.
So on your sheets, I know I've given you so many sheets, but the one that you've been writing on, we still haven't completed number 5. So for number 5, kind of where we started with this class is of all the things we talked about, and I know we talked about a lot of things, but what is one thing that leaving here you would like to do differently or begin? And again, just like we started with, I think the important part is something that you know you can't fail at, that you know that this is something you can do. I'd like you to write on that for a moment on number 5, and that will conclude our class. If you're still writing, please continue. Thank you all for being here. I appreciate you being here.
Yeah, that was fun.
This is a good class.
Thank you. No, I
Thanks, Ryan.
enjoy it too. Thanks, and I love that I come away with new recipes.
Yeah.